February 24th. Thanks for joining me for another Outlaw Pulpit. And just want to make mention that if you're looking for some great merchandise and other products from Sanctuary, coffee, t-shirts, mugs, downloadable posters, you can go to wearemetalwearefamily.com. And also, I should say and plug selfishly that all of these podcasts that I'm doing are, of course, on the Sanctuary channel on the YouTube. But I'll be archiving them over at a new website that I put together called the Outlawpulpit.com. So here's the web address, Outlawpulpit.com. And there you can also follow me on Facebook. There's 1.3 thousand followers of the Outlaw Pulpit currently. And so if you want to join in on the conversation, that'd be great. And also there's some swag there as well that you can order. So kind of fun. But let me get into what I want to talk about this evening. At dinner this evening, I was talking to my kids about dating. Okay, I'm not ready for this yet. But my daughter, she's 11. My son is 12. Both of them are going to be turning a year older within a month here. And I told them an old thing that I was taught myself. And quite honestly, pointed out that to my kids, I said, so the way that my wife's father, I said their grandpa was basically how and what she was looking for in a guy. Now, there's something psychological there. The way a father treats his daughter and how a father is typically what a girl will look for in a guy. Now I understand there's cases where it may be a bad situation and whatnot, and that breaks the mold, okay? But typically, how a daughter will look up to her father, that's typically how they marry. So, for instance, my father-in-law is just a blue-collar guy, worked an honest job. He's retired now, but a fixer-upper, wasn't afraid to try anything new, loved his wife, loves his wife still, and all of these things, and that's ultimately who my wife married. And then I turned the tables a little bit. I said, so James, there's another side to this. And that's my son. I said, typically, the way a son treats their mother is going to be the way that kid treats his wife, okay, or girlfriends along the way. Because, of course, they were talking about how one of their friends at 12 years old didn't get his girlfriend a Valentine's gift, and now they broke up. Travesty. And they call it puppy love, okay. But it got me thinking a little bit, like, okay, so that is true. The way a daughter looks up to her father and how a father is typically who they're going to end up marrying. And the way a son treats their mother is probably going to be the way that they treat their wife. And there's a verse that I've lost count at how many weddings I've done. But there is a verse that I've used, and many pastors and officiants have used them over the years, and we call it the wedding verse. It's, of course, found in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4, and it says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. Here's a teaching that I heard a while ago, and I incorporate this into my sermon during a wedding when I officiated. I said, anytime we read that verse, love is patient, we realize that is a wedding verse. We realize that is the one that everybody wants at their wedding, just like certain songs that people want at their wedding. After 40-some weddings that I've officiated, I always get a kick out of the brides that say, okay, at our wedding, we're going to play this song. And they act like it's the newest idea since the best thing since sliced bread. And really, the pastors, we just kind of bite our tongue. We're like, oh, yeah, that's a great song. Wow, that's going to be an awesome mark on the old wedding there. Now, there are some moments where I've had odd times officiating, just like funerals, okay? Usually you end up hearing In the Garden and How Great Thou Art. And at one funeral I did, the funeral home directors, they told everybody the directions, how this is going to go. And then they did the first song, and the first song they played was an old Southern, or not a Southern gospel. It better not be, but an old country song. And it was called Prop Me Up Against the Jukebox When I Die. And they ended the funeral with Ozzy's No More Tears. So I thought that, and I don't say anything about that. That's whatever makes their day special is what I'm going to roll with. Going back to this verse, though, in 1 Corinthians 13:4, I often put in the message, though, that yes, this is a wedding verse and it's a beautiful thing and all of that, but we should be able to take the word love out of there and put your spouse's name in there. Okay. So for instance, I would say then Tracy is patient. Tracy is kind. She does not envy. She does not boast. And she is not proud. So it's important to look at a scripture that's way in saying that, you know what, Bob is patient, Bob is kind. And why do we say that? Because it holds us in check on how we treat our spouse. Okay, because if all we're going to do is use that as the token verse during a wedding and we don't live it, why do it? It's like when a couple that doesn't go to my church, or any church for that matter, asks me to do their wedding. I set them down, and before we even begin premarital counseling, I will ask them the simple question: if church isn't a part of your life right now, and you don't go to church anywhere, why would you want it involved? Why would you want God involved in the biggest day of your life? And I don't mean that in a condescending way. It's just, for me, I like to know what the rationale is behind these things. It's like when I dedicate a baby. Okay, there's a part of the dedication service where the church responds, and then the parents respond saying, yes, we will raise them up in church and all that stuff. And I'll admit, there's a lot of times where I'm like, no, you won't. If you haven't up until this point, sometimes people's hearts get a little softer, and that's when they start going to church, when they do have a baby and now they're raising a family. But overall, if you're not doing it already, then what's the purpose of taking these vows in front of a church body? And so I say all of that to say this: for you that are younger or older and are going into the dating scene, remember those words, because they're nothing new. Pastor Bob 2.0 did not come up with these. But remember, ladies, the way you looked up to your father and how your father was might be the person you end up marrying. And guys, here's the big deal: the way you treat your mama, the way you treated your mom, and again, I realize there's extreme cases, that aside, that's going to be the way you probably are going to treat your wife. And now, future wives, ladies that are going to be looking for a husband, here's my advice to you. If the guy treats his wife, I take that back. If the guy treats his mother poorly, walk away from the situation. Do it. Walk away from that whole situation, because somehow we tend to think, and this was the big thing in youth groups in the 80s and 90s, it was called evangelism dating. It never works, okay? And you're not going to change a guy. The way he treats his mom, who is a lady, is going to be how he treats other ladies, meaning you. And things can change, absolutely. But you know what? You don't need to be the person involved in that. So just some input from Dr. Love. Evenings with Delilah. No, I'm just joking. But anyways, some food for thought in how we treat each other, how we treat our spouses, how we treat our significant others, and what we put into our kids' head, because that's an important thing. I can tell you firsthand tonight when I said that how my son treats his mother is going to probably be how he treats other ladies. His wheels got spinning very quickly. He was kind of convicted, because my boy is a squirrely 12-year-old. All 12-year-olds are. But it is something to think about. If you have any questions, email me, outlawpulpit@gmail.com. I hope you have a great day.